YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Eyes and Ears Tactical. Well, y'all saw the thumbnail. Law enforcement helping the criminals. Back with another video. YouTube, I'm in a safe control environment. All these weapons are clear. Nothing in the chamber. There's no children around. Safe control environment. All these weapons been safety checked. I clicked 18 over for my content. Video clearly uploaded. We're all safe. Yeah, man. This one, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I did a video on, all levels of law enforcement, Justice Department, DAs, all of them. They're all on the same team, man, and they're all are facilitating all these crimes that we see across the country, from the border being wide open to fentanyl to human trafficking. Pretty much everything, man. All levels of crime is being facilitated by law enforcement and high-ranking law officials, man. They're all on the same team. ATF is in on it. All these, I've been saying this for years. People, not only me, people have been saying this for years. How are all these guns getting to Southside Chicago? How are all these guns getting to Houston, Texas? How are these guns getting to West Palm Beach, Florida? How is all this fentanyl getting across the southern border? How are all these people coming across the border? Well, all these government agencies, man, they all got corrupted people inside of them. Before someone gets all on a back the badge blindly, I don't give a shit if you want to back the badge blindly. I'm just telling you right now that pretty much all the crime that's being facilitated, that's being going down in this country, is being facilitated by law enforcement and high-ranking government officials in every level, even in the U.S. military, man. They're stealing guns off the bases and bringing them back to the civilian world and selling them and things of that nature, man. So it's very disturbing. I got this report right here. It's a little lengthy, cut a little clip that I pulled out, but I think it's very important to get this clip out before people head into the new year, so they can get a really good understanding that these things are going down. And, in conjunction with second tier media or YouTube media, mainstream media, some mainstream media is doing a decent job of reporting these stories, but by the time we get them, the election has passed. If you notice how all this stuff rolls out after an election, after something's going down, and then they give you the information, but by then you already have voted these people in. So you got to keep in mind that when you hear of these corrupt officials doing these type of deviant things, they've been doing it for quite some time, man. And the lady even said on this report I'm going to show you that the ATF and the DA and all of them, they all pretty much say they won't charge a lot of these law enforcement officials, because they will plea out and they'll only go to jail for a year or two and be back on the streets or be laterally moved to another department. So they feel that prosecuting them is not really worth it. That sucks right there. But it's okay to prosecute me if I have more than a 10-round mag in my AR-15 in California. So you can see the hypocrisy. It's real blatant. Bump stop, braced, all the short barrel rifle. That's all a money grab. They out here giving these guns to criminals, and they look the other way, but they want to make it hard for a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, man. Hey, so stand by. I got to show you this clip. Super disturbing clip, and you guys tell me what you think, man. Am I just over here hyping stuff up? Is it, oh man, it's only a one bad apple? There's a lot of good law enforcement people that do a great job. Yeah, whatever. I'm sure it is. All I'm saying is that show me. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom always said, rest in peace, man. She said, I see a whole lot better than I hear. I hear everybody saying there's good cops out there, but I don't see them. I'm hearing that there's a lot of good judges out there, but I'm not seeing it. And every time I turn on the news, I'm hearing about some law official, some government high-ranking official is corrupt to the core, and they still stay in office and stay in position. So check out this little clip right here. We'll be right back.
A CBS News investigation found dozens of law enforcement leaders buying and illegally selling guns. A review of government audits and court records over the last 20 years uncovered instances in 23 states across the U.S., plus Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., for a total of more than 50 cases. and people who were supposed to protect and serve were selling these high-powered guns and making a steep profit. Erin Couchy, who led this reporting, is here with me in Studio 57. She's a producer for CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit. Erin, this is so mind-boggling that these high-ranking officers are getting these guns and then they're selling them to criminals. In essence, the law enforcement officers are criminals themselves.
Right.
No shit.
So the key is that these weapons are usually deemed too dangerous to be on the street. So they're using their access as law enforcement officials to gain access to things that otherwise wouldn't be on the market. They're saying, we need this for our official duties to serve and protect, but actually they're secretly turning around
So
and they're selling.
They're buying them because they're
Damn
law
shame.
enforcement officials, or they're requesting them. Tell me more.
It runs again. So there were 50 cases all across the country, and there were different ways they got it. Sometimes they stole it out of the inventory. Sometimes they were their issued weapons by the department. In the most egregious cases, there were battlefield weapons, and that requires them to go to federal regulators, ask for special permission to gain access to them. And just to give you a sense of what kind of weapons these are, these could take out an armored tank. They could go through a building at the other side, hit a target 18 football fields away. They can take out a military helicopter. That's an example from a real case. We found an Iowa police chief in a 3-person police department. Town was the population of less than 800, and he had requested over the course of 4 years 90 machine guns to get access to. He'd gotten approval. It took until he requested a Gatling-style machine gun that spewed 6,000 rounds a minute for federal regulators to say there's something fishy going on and starting to look into it. He's now serving a 5-year prison sentence, but he's totally unremorseful about it. He just says it's a business, it's not illegal to sell things in this country, and he's appealing his sentence because he just doesn't think it's a crime.
Oh, this is a lot to take in, Erin. And when I'm looking through all of this material, I'm seeing here that your team also uncovered social media posts where the buyers are talking about how they got the officers to sell weapons. Tell me more about that.
So when you're talking about machine guns, you do have to go to the federal regulation because there's been an outright ban in the United States since 1986. No one can have access to them. The one exception is official government use. So they go to federal regulators, but all you need is a letter. It's functionally a permission slip. A police chief signs a letter saying, I need this for department use. So there's literally do-it-yourself videos on social media explaining there's online web forums, and it just comes down to relationships. There's some guys who said, I know a police chief, I know a sheriff, I know a SWAT guy. They just take turns signing these letters for me, and they make it like it's all for fun. Some of these guys just think it's fun to literally mount it on an armored tank and just shoot it off into a field. And a lot of the guys is totally innocent, and that's what they do. But the problem is there are cases where they've ended up in the hands of criminals. So they've ended up with drug traffickers, they've ended up with arms dealers. There was a case where a police chief, a mayor, and a town, it was a member of the town council, were trafficking guns and tactical gear to a Mexican cartel. There was a case just last year where they all ended up pleading guilty. It was 2 police chiefs, a sheriff, a Delta Force veteran, all conspiring together with a sanctioned Russian arms dealer, and they ended up in the hands of an international gun trafficker. Again, all of that ended up pleading guilty, so we know for sure that they were doing that. And then there was a case in the Northeast where it ended up being used in a fatal gang shooting of a 14-year-old boy who was just standing at a high school football game and accidentally got shot.
Okay, you saw it. What y'all think about that? I mean, that's huge. You saw they had the whole map out there, United States. Now, I did notice when they put the map out there, I was noticing, if anybody pay attention and maybe roll back that clip, if you notice, like a lot of the corruption, now I'm sure it's across the board, but I did notice that it was a lot of the restricted states that they had read out. Illinois was on there. I saw DC. I saw California. I saw New Mexico. That governor was talking about going to 8 rounds. But here we go. We find out that you clowns down there are selling guns to the criminals. California's old sleazy Gavin Newsom over there making things so hard with gun restriction. And our state, California, is probably one of the biggest facilitator of selling guns to illegal people and criminals and stuff like that. I kept telling you guys, how does all these guns end up in all these urban cities? How do they get there? They don't build these guns. There ain't no AK factories in the hood. There ain't no Glock factories in Southside Chicago. How are all these guns getting there? Well, now we know. Well, I think a lot of people who live in those communities been knowing this, but their voice just gets stamped out. They don't have no platform to really tell their stories. and that's where YouTube comes in at. I think YouTube is Second Amendment media has had a huge impact on opening people's eyes on getting armed, letting them know what crimes are going on in their community. A lot of people don't watch mainstream media, so what happens is they just walking around throughout their life and just thinking everything is everything, and not knowing that, man, all these super threatening criminal elements are existing right in their backyard. Now, I did notice that Florida was on there. All these southern states were on there. Now, Texas, I noticed they didn't have Texas on there. Now, I don't know if that because maybe they just didn't get a chance to do some reporting down there. But yeah, Texas wasn't on that list, but I'm not that naive to believe that there ain't no corrupt law officials down there or corrupt U.S. military troops that are stealing guns out of inventory and selling them to criminals. I totally believe that goes down in Texas too, but it didn't make her list. But I was shocked about Iowa. I wasn't really shocked, but this is what I was shocked. I was shocked at Iowa, but I wasn't shocked that as she said, that little small town with only 900 people, that sheriff was super corrupt and was ordering 90 machine guns for a little town with only 900 people. If that don't send a red flag up the pole, what does, man? But yet again, some law-abiding, tax-paying citizen in New York City got to jump through hoops just to get a fucking pistol permit. Man, this is ridiculous, man. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's unacceptable. This is the kind of stuff that everybody older than me been saying has been going on for decades and decades and decades in this country, but people just didn't want to listen to nobody because they didn't have a voice. Now people have a voice. Empty Magazine, YouTube, Empty Magazine. Now everybody has a voice and everybody has a cell phone. Now you can't really run and hide and say, that's not true. You're just making that up. You just don't like law enforcement. No. It's too late for all that nonsense. The cat's out the bag. Now you can't like they say, the genie's out the bottle. You can't put it back in there. So it's starting to come to a head now. We're starting to really, I think, not me, but there's some people are starting to come around and realize that law enforcement officials and government officials, high-ranking officials in authoritative positions, they're not our friends and they don't have our back. They do not support the tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, people who do not do criminal behavior, people who do not do straw purchases. There's no protection for us. But however, you got law enforcement's FFL holders out there working behind the scenes, actually selling guns, knowing that they may end up in a criminal's hand, or actually selling them directly to the criminal. So, but you worry about this grandfather in Iowa that's trying to buy his son a bolt action rifle for his first hunt and coming up in the fall, and you're gonna make him jump through hoops for that. But you're gonna let freaking sheriff of a small town in Iowa request 90 machine guns, and the only reason why, if you saw the report, the only reason why that sheriff got busted because he requested a Gatling gun. A Gatling gun, really, for a town of only 900 people? Man, come on, stop. Where's Biden at now with his Elmer Fudd shotgun theory? Well, why does a sheriff of a town of 900 people need 90 machine guns and a Gatling gun? I'll tell you why, because those guns ain't going to be using that in Iowa. They're going to end up somewhere in a cartel hand or a crime syndicate hand. So yeah, 90% of the problems that we have with guns in our communities and stuff like that, they're not done by law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. And really, we need to stop blaming the little regular domestic criminals, because they wouldn't be able to get these guns without these law enforcement people selling it to them, clearly. And everybody, like I said, people who live in metropolitan cities have already known this. This is not a theory. This is facts. There's people who live in these major metro cities. Anybody watching this video, tap in. If you live in one of our major metro cities in America, Miami, New York State, Boston, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, New Orleans, LA, Oakland, Chicago, Seattle, whatever. You live in these major cities that have a lot of crime. Tap in and let us know. Did you think this is something that's enlightening you? This is new to you? Or have you actually assumed, saw, or heard, or got some facts based that a lot of that stuff is being facilitated by law enforcement? And so that's the part that I think we need to start waking up, because our tax money pays their salaries. So think about how fucked up this is and how morbid this is. You go to work every day, bust your butt. Uncle Sam takes tax money out of your pocket to pay for municipals, fire department, police department, and things of that nature. And then here we are, when you asleep in your bed, your local sheriff down the street, or your local police chief, or one of your beat cops is in a barn somewhere selling fucking high power firearms to a crime syndicate. I mean, if that ain't having your cake and eat it too, man. And then they're gonna come knock on your door and say, why you got a pistol brace? Why you got an 8.5 inch? What do you need that for? I mean, that's where it really frustrates the law-abiding, tax-paying firearm owner, pisses us off, because we actually spend our hard-earned money on these firearms, and we go above and beyond on the legal side to make sure when we buy these firearms that we are checking all the boxes correctly on our application sheet. But then you got the president's son goes in there high on drugs and lies, and then he gets pardoned. And see, this is where civil unrest is gonna rise up eventually at one point. I'm 56. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but it's gonna come a point where the American people are gonna actually turn their guns on the government, because there's too much information, there's too many testimonies, there's too many stories if they don't have our back and they're selling us out. So when you hear a cartel group comes into a city and shoots the whole block up, you can just might as well surmise that possibly those guns were bought in America and was sold to them by law enforcement officials. So this is crazy, man. That's a crazy report right there, and that was by CBS. So shout out to that lady who did that report. And when you watch the video, you can tell that she was a little uneasy about doing it. And she said that basically, you got to go back and watch the whole clip. I cut it out, but in the back end of it, she was saying that when they go to try to prosecute these dirty cops and stuff, that they have so much backing of the badge by other officials that it gets knocked down by judges who are probably corrupt, and then the DAs don't want to pick it up because they probably are corrupt. So because they said if they prosecute them, in most cases they do less than 3 years of jail time. The sheriff that was in Iowa, if you heard her say that he's serving 5 years. Now, if any of us did any of that kind of stuff, man, you're doing way more than 5 years in prison. So how does a law enforcement official gets to do a corrupt crime like that and get a slap on the wrist? And you're supposed to be serving and protecting the people that are paying your taxes, that are paying your salary. Man, this is very, very disturbing, man. It's very, very disturbing. And that's why people, don't comply, tax-paying citizens. That's why you have these people who live in the woods and in the mountains and out in the rural areas, and they form like-minded little teams of people, and they protect their property, their cattle, and they're not going to comply, and they don't trust law enforcement. And this is the reason why. I'm sure the farmers are getting their land invaded by all these criminals, and then when they call police to come, hey, I got a group of people squatting on my land, they make them jump through proper channels to get them off their land. Well, there's nothing we really can do. You're gonna have to just document and keep an eye on them. We're really overwhelmed. We're gonna try to get an agent out there to take a look at your case and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, they out there slaughtering your animals and barbecuing the meat on their property. But if you go ahead and go over there and lay their ass down, now you got to go to the judge and explain all this and possibly be prosecuted, thrown in jail, got a lawyer up, get out because you shot some motherfucking cartel members or a Venezuelan gang or any Chinese fucking nationalists on your property, and you gunned them down because they're on your property. Now you got to go explain why you did it. Meanwhile, that same fucking judge and DA and sheriff is over here selling guns to these cats. So... And you man think what you want, man. This ain't a bash on law enforcement my ass. That's a bash on themselves. I'm just over here doing some reporting because there's people who watch my channel told me to keep doing these stories because they don't see a lot of it on the news. And like I said, again, some people don't have time to be watching mainstream media. Some people don't even trust mainstream media. But when they put reports out like this, you best believe it's true. Some of the stuff they put out might be hyperbole. They might be hyping it up or distraction, but these cases are far few in between when they put them out. So it got legs, it got legs. It can walk, it can run. It's a true case, and it's just something to think about, man. It makes you wonder, like, why do they not want law-abiding citizens armed? Why is that such a problem for them, man? So I just want to bring that up, man. It's just something to think about. If you ain't armed right now, and you need to get armed quickly, because now you have two elements you have to look out for. You got to look out for the criminals, the international crime syndicate criminals, the cartels, and then you got to look out for the domestic criminals who are just out there doing normal crime, robbing and jacking and all that kind of stuff. And you got Wi-Fi hackers and all this kind of stuff. And now you got law enforcement officials all the way to the top, from the beat cop to the sergeant to the lieutenant, the DA, judges. They're all in on it, man. And they all getting paid big time money, man. So it's something we got to think about, man. Something we got to prepare for. They don't want you armed, so when you out there with your guns, be responsible. You as a law-abiding citizen, you ain't a felon. You're a target. You know, you're a target by the criminals and by law enforcement, because they don't want you armed. The criminals, they know that the cops don't want you armed. So it makes you wonder when you see these home invasions and the cops don't show up for like 30, 40 minutes. Did they know that home invasion was going down? Just something to think about. Did they know? Did they know that, hey, man, there's going to be a couple robberies tonight, so like, hey, guys, let's lay low over at this Walmart, and then let's wait to respond after that. We don't know any of this. I'm just giving an example. We don't know now. If you saw this report, you don't know how many crimes in your community is actually being done by law enforcement. It's something really to think about. This is a really disturbing day in America, when you can't even trust law enforcement to have your back as a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, but yet they willing to do business with felons. And you heard the lady say, like, well, yeah, it was the sheriff in Iowa said there's no crime for selling firearms in America. Come on, man. You have to have, the client have to be an upstanding client to be selling firearms. So you can't just be out here selling firearms to violent people. You know what I'm saying? So I just think they're just so, they have so much like arrogance. Like, you know, what do you bother me for? I'm just doing I'm just trying to make money. I'm just trying to make a buck. Are you kidding me? That is not a good response for you selling high-powered machine guns to criminals and saying that I have the right to sell anything I want to anybody. Damn, dude, that's crazy, man. It's really arrogant. It's obnoxious. It's very disrespectful, and it's un-American. And that's why I say, yeah, this was the original Second Amendment Homeland Security, man. We were this country was built on people taking care of themselves, protecting their own property. We never really, this country don't need law enforcement if it's gonna, yeah, would it be nice to have law enforcement if they were doing their jobs correctly and really protecting the American people? Absolutely, it would be nice to have law enforcement. But if they're gonna be out there facilitating and spearheading and stealing and robbing, and like I said, I'm not gonna give the I'm not gonna give the military a pass either, because there's several reports coming out of Fort Hood. There's been thousands and thousands, 20, 30,000 firearms missing off of that base in that armory. And that's just one fort in America. So I'm not gonna sit here, you know, my son's in the Army, I'm not gonna sit here and keep them immune to this. No, they have a hand in this too. There's several cases out there of military personnel selling firearms, but we're gonna stick with law enforcement because they're the ones out here terrorizing the civilians. The military guys ain't necessarily terrorizing the civilians. Now, they did say that on that one case that there was a retired Delta Force guy that was in on it. That doesn't shock me though. That doesn't shock me because they have more experience with these firearms and they know how to get their hands on them. So I just want to jump on, man, and show y'all this report. Let me know what you guys think about this. Law enforcement are actually helping the criminals. FFL, they're in on it too, it sounds like. ATF, they know about it, but it sounds like ATF can't go after them because they're bigger than the average little normie that got a brace on his gun at home, and they can go kick his door in and harass him. Yeah, they'll come get that guy, or the guy in California that has a 20-round mag. They'll come get that guy, but they can't come get the dirty sheriff in California who's buying machine gun type firearms and sell them to the criminals. So even the ATF, we already knew that they were kind of like wimpy anyway. So they don't have a really big voice in the fight. It sounds like to me, like they don't have when it comes to like prosecuting corrupt law officials and government officials, like they kind of look the other way. And we just saw that with Hunter Biden. Normally the ATF would have threw his ass in jail if he wasn't the president's son. But since he is, they like, man, we handcuffed. There's nothing we can really do about it because we push it up there, it's gonna get knocked down. And what you guys got to remember, these prosecutors and these DAs, they don't like losing. So they won't pick up a case if they know they can't win. And that's why they like picking up domestic cases in lower income communities, because those are slam dunk cases. They know they're going to win them all. They know they can win against the farmer who has a fully automatic machine gun on his property. They know they can beat that guy, but they can't beat a crooked law enforcement official. Very, very disturbing times right now. Very disturbing times. And this is just tip of the iceberg, like the lady said. That's just one lady doing a crime report. How many other news agencies don't want to touch this topic? So, hey man, I ain't want to hold y'all up too long. Let me know what you think about this video. What you think about that clip? What do you think about where this country going with law enforcement? You can see how if they did martial law, how they could easily run our country because they already got corrupt people in place to make sure that goes down. So keep the good fight going. Keep buying firearms. Keep training. Be responsible. And definitely watch how you operate with these firearms, because they clearly don't want you to have it, but they don't mind criminals to have it. Hey man, it's your boy Eisener's Tactical Man. Man, 300 blackout. I'm sure they selling these to those fucking crooks too, huh? You never know. But they don't want us to have it. Really, really obnoxious, man. Really disturbing. But at the same time, man, we got to still be our own homeland security. And you still have the right. So while you still have the right, you might as well go ahead and get you a gun, because you never know if you got to get in the fight. Like, comment, subscribe. Everybody stay blessed.